It is almost our time. 1 minute left.
Hello.
Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Hello, Christine.
Hello.
So it is our time. Today is 14th of January 2023. It is a pleasure to be here again and to start our Saturday the right fit. Let's make a quick prayer. Father, that art in heaven, here we are once again, pleased to be together among friends from both realms to try to study a bit more what one of your sons brought to us. Give us the right intuition, give us the right questions to allow us to really use this time together to our own benefit. Be with us today and always. So be it.
So be it.
So, was so strange not being here last week, and I will try my best to be here today and have all the fun I missed last weekend. So let me try to share my screen with you all. Here we go. So let me adjust my screen. I have few things here that are not okay. Is it now? So let me move this to the bottom, like that I can reduce a bit here. So I believe you guys have stopped here.
Yes.
Right? So let me see if I can increase a bit more. Now it's too big. So today we're starting with globular spirits, item 108. To the foregoing considerations, we shall add an examination of certain optical effects that give rise to the strange theory of globular spirits. Often, the air is not entirely clean, and such at times the currents of aeriform molecules and the heated producing movements can become perfectly visible. Some people have actually taken this phenomenon to be masses of spirits fluttering around in the air. It is enough only to mention this theory in order to refute it. Nonetheless, there is another kind of illusion that is no less bizarre and against which we must also be on guard. I think it's important, those warnings, those advices from Kardec. Quite often we believe things that we cannot explain. Well, they are things from the spirits. It's not really that. Sometimes things we cannot explain is because we do not know. It doesn't mean that does not have an explanation, right? So we need to be careful and we have to be attentive to every other possibility. The watery fluid in the eye sometimes contains specks that are barely perceptible and which have lost some of their transparency. These specks are like opaque objects suspended in the fluid, whose movements they follow. They appear as tiny discs, barely 1/16 of an inch in diameter, but augmented by refraction, which appears to float in the air some distance away. We have seen people taking these discs to be spirits who follow them everywhere. And in their enthusiasm, they see figures in nuances of the iridescence. Iridescence. This is about as rational as seeing the figures of a man on the moon. It would only take a simple observation on their part to bring themselves back to reality. They say that these discs or medallions not only follow them, but they also duplicate their movements. They go to the right and to the left, up and down, or stop according to their head movements. There is nothing strange about this, since the seat of the phenomenon lies in the ocular globe and must naturally obey its movement. If they were actually spirits, people would have to admit that the discs display a too highly mechanical movement for intelligent and free being, a tiresome role even for low-order spirits, and a role even more incompatible with our ideas concerning high-order spirits. Some people have taken the black or opaque specks that sometimes appear in their eyes to be evil spirits. You see, we can always think what we want to think. We can always try to explain what we don't understand, and related to our beliefs, we start to denominate this or that phenomena as something related to the spirits. Both discs and the back specks have a wave-like movement that is restricted to a certain angle. And what increases the illusion is that they do not abruptly follow the movement of the line of vision. The reason is simple. The opaque specks in the watery fluid, the primary cause of the phenomena, are, as we have stated, suspended in the liquid and tend to float downwards. When they rise, they do so with the movement of the eyes from the bottom upwards. But when they reach a certain height, they become fixed, and they are seen to float back down and stop by themselves. They are extremely mobile because it only takes an imperceptible movement of the eye to make them change direction and quickly travel the whole width with an arc in the space where the image is produced. As long as it is not being proven that an image has its own spontaneous and intelligent movement, one can only see it as an optical and physiological phenomenon. I think he's giving a very clear explanation for this particular possibility, right? But if you do have any questions, anything, please feel free to do so. The same thing happens with the stars, sometimes produced by the contraction of the eye muscle, and which appears in more or less tight bunches. These are probably due to the phosphorescent electricity in the iris, because they are usually confined to the circle of that part of the eye. Particular types of these illusions can only be the results of imperfect observation. However, has seriously studied the nature of spirits through the means offered by the practical spiritism, will understand how naive they are, just as we combat the foolhardy theories that attack spiritist communications when such theories are based on ignorance of the facts. We must also seek to destroy the erroneous idea that result more from enthusiasm than mental reflection, and which therefore cause more harm than good to disbelievers, who are already naturally disposed to looking for the ridiculous side of the matter. I think we've spoken about that before when we mentioned that we do have to evaluate everything and eliminate all the possibilities before we really start to consider something related to the spirits. Even myself, the other day, I was in a in a meeting, and for some strange reason, my family just started to participate on the call. And I said, well, that was not technically possible, right? But I keep it like that for the time being. I thought it was strange, it was not technically possible. Until Charles said to me, don't you have any Bluetooth connected? Oh, I didn't think so at the time. But after the meeting, I've decided to evaluate. And yes, indeed, there was a Bluetooth on the ground floor that was connecting to my speaker. So yeah, I could quickly jump and say, well, there's something related to the spirits. And then, oops, a couple of minutes later, no, it's not spirits. That was a Bluetooth. So that was just an example that came to my mind. So we always have to be attentive, not to jump quickly into conclusions. And I would say that in regards to everything on the spiritism, because we see a lot of our friends, fellow friends on the spiritism jumping into conclusions too quickly. Hi, Liz.
Hi, everyone. We call them floaters. And even I've been susceptible to that, where, you know, I can see the cloudy, misty things in front of me and follow them going around. But luckily, you know, I'd read the medium's book and realized it was all a fallacy. Following on from you saying we have to be careful about, you know, what we believe. My daughter has a question that she'd like me to ask, which I'm interested in finding your answer to. And it's quite relevant to what we believe. If I can just explain what she said. She said, I had 3 loud knocks on my bedroom door last night, which woke me up with a jolt. My dream was I felt I was in an underworld and one spirit took an infrared camera to show me all the spirits were around me. All but can't see with the naked eye wasn't a nice feeling. Then I had the knock, but normally it's the front door. But this was my bedroom door and it was so loud and I'm not sleeping well. She said, I have been learning more tarot lately and practicing how to read the cards. Maybe that has opened it up. I seem to get more activity when asleep when I do things like that, like learning the tarot and stuff. Have you got any idea what those knocks are? She's quite psychic, but they will seem real, maybe are real.
I would be very conscious not to give an answer straight away, because I do not have enough information to make a thorough evaluation. I'm thinking about what she described. There was a mist between being in a dream and wake up with a noise, right? The knocks on the door.
Yeah, she was loudly interrupted in her dream and suddenly woke up with a jolt on her bedroom door, whereas normally the knocks are on her front door.
What I will do here, I will throw some ideas to make herself evaluate better what has happened, right? Yeah. How can she guarantee that the 3 knocks was not also part of that dream?
True.
That was my first analysis.
It could have been a very lucid dream, couldn't it?
Could be. I'm not saying it was not a knock on the door. I'm just throwing questions to make people think. And when I'm throwing questions, is because I would like to give the incentive to everyone to make questions. And I'm very thorough about that. I like to say to people, making questions, right or wrong, making questions. That's the way we evaluate things. Another question. How does she know that they were using infrared equipment?
Yeah.
How does she know she were in the wonder world? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But how does she know?
Mm.
Because sometimes we read a book and we start to believe in a lot of things. And then we reflect what we start to believe in what we call dreams.
It can be in our subconscious, can't it?
Can be,
Mm.
but they are dreams, and they are dreams-like. They are not truly a dream. Is when your perispirit detached from your physical body and it wanders. It can go to the lower zone, yes. Quite often. Quite often we go to where we are close to. And we, on Earth, we are close to the lower zone, not to the up in the sky, right? So we will see things that are not pleasant to our eyes. Thankfully, most of us, we do not remember what we see or what we do, right? And you also said she's learning to read cards.
Tarot. Yeah, tarot.
Yeah.
Only for herself, I think.
Yeah. What is a tarot to start with? It's a line of belief.
Egypt, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a line of belief that we will communicate with the spiritual world through cards. I'm being very simplistic here, but that's what the tarot is. Likewise, if I start an endeavor to communicate with the spirits and I'm not prepared to, I can be in touch with good and not very good spirits. I may be able to believe that I'm only handle cards, and in reality, there's way more than just a card in my hand. So I would say we need to be careful. We need to be careful in what we do, how we do, and if you do want to get in touch with the spiritual world, there are really safer methods. Because I can give other examples. There are people that throw stones, there are people that use glasses with water, there are people that use Ouija and things like that. It all can be used as a means to communicate, but what do you want to communicate in the first place? What are you trying to achieve? So all those questions need to play in a thorough analysis. Because
the intention.
I have no information at all about Liz's daughter, what she does and what she wants. But I'll picture a scenario here just for the sake of our study. One person is trying I have some back noise here. Let me see, how can I? Has a mic open?
Adriana, yeah, she closed already.
Oh, okay, all right. Sounds good. No worries. And let me close this one. I want to learn tarot because I want to contact spirits, and I see that possibly as a way to make money. Once again, I'm not saying it's her case. I'm just giving an example, right? In my search to control that method, without knowing that the spirits that will come closer because of what I want to do are not very evolved, I start to be surrounded by those spirits. Because when they see someone to have fun, if I can put like that, they will come closer. And the person does not have that information. The person thinks she's doing everything all right, that's safe, that's normal, or that's just a game, because we can buy things like that on the store to give to kids nowadays, if you want. So that's why I love card deck, because it is the safest way ever to deal with mediumship, to deal with the spiritual world. So now coming back to Liz's daughter and the questions. Someone responsible would give only one answer I don't know. But there's a lot of people that would jump into conclusions and start to say, is this, is that, blah, blah, blah. So my own honest answer is, I don't know. I can create theories behind that, but that's not what you want to hear. But what I would advise, she could make the question herself here, and perhaps would be positive to her to start to be acquainted to what we do here. And herself, she will start to evaluate what's happening around her. Because it's very difficult to someone that's not even present in the vicinity to analyze things.
Yeah.
If you are,
Only, but she's genuinely absolutely busy at the moment. She's traveling all over the place. She's going to Utah this week. But yes, I told her it's best to avoid the tarot as far as my advice is concerned, especially if she thinks it's interrupting and maybe causing the problems. I know that a lot of mediums use tarot just as a prop, really. You know, they think it actually allows them to concentrate on something in order to tune in. I don't think you need props or rituals at all when you're dealing with mediumship. She did say another thing. She said she also, a lot of the time, when she's asleep, she hears spirit children crying or laughing. She's
well,
getting that quite a bit.
I would say this is more like a wake-up call than anything else.
Right.
Through our conversations over the weeks here, I believe she has a potential to be a medium, ostensibly.
Yeah, she is. She does receive a lot of helpful information.
So,
but not for money. It's only for research.
that's fine. I also respect who does for money. That's really up to the person. Sometimes the person that does for money does not know the consequence of doing so, but
Yeah, exactly.
is doing the goodwill. You know, I don't advise anyone to do, but if you want to do, it's your own choice, if you like. But why I said it's kind of wake-up call, because mediumship is to be used and to be used right. And you will have a certain amount of wake-up calls through your life. So it's better grasp it and do it right, because not doing so may have consequences. So once again, I think it's time to find time, because I will say something that's very personal to me. Time is preference. Time is preference. I don't have time to do this, that, but tomorrow we're going to the pub to have a happy hour. It's preference. We don't have time to read a book, blah, 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 but I spend 3 hours on the Facebook every day. So time is preference. And when the problem becomes really a problem, we'll find a way to create time. Time management is one of the biggest problems in the world, and the industry, by the way. But it's also preference. We need to choose. And she may be receiving those wake-up calls by dreams, by visions, by any other means. Why? I would ask why. Not if it's happening, if it's not happening. I would ask why it is happening. The answer to me is clear. But we cannot convince anyone to do anything. The person himself or herself needs to accept and to embrace. That's the way I see. All right.
Thank you very much for your advice, Guillaume, and I'll definitely send her the recording to listen to. And what you've just said is also a warning to everybody. So it's worth keeping that recording to send to anyone who might be having similar things happening in their life. Thank you very much.
And once again, just to be clear, the example, the picture I painted was not at all related to Lee's daughter. I will say again, I have no knowledge at all about what she does and why she does. I've just painted that to give a picture to everyone.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll give another one. just came to my mind. I was probably like, what, 23, 24 years old, and I had a girlfriend. She did not know I was a spiritist. Oh, I'll play tarot for you. That was funny. She played the cards, she put the cards on the table. Before she turned the first card, I never had any proximity of tarot. We'll say that. When she turned the card, she looked at me. She didn't say anything because I don't know the meaning of the cards, the design. I have no idea. Before she turned the second one, we'll say that. Again. On the third time, she stopped. She looked at me really, really scared. You know to play that. What's going on here? I said, well, I don't know. I never had a tarot card in front of me, but somehow I know what is coming. She was really, really scared and she never played again. But what was that? What was that? When someone engaged with the spiritual world, the spirits were there. And the only thing I did basically was to pick the sign, or I was connected to the spirit to know what was there. That was it. But just to give you an idea how little things like that people don't really understand may have connections with the spiritual world. And everything that was said at that time was not negative, but could be negative. And the person that is reading to someone else becomes responsible for a negative input to the other person. And perhaps instead of helping the person, you are creating a massive problem. Likewise, Ouija, the glass with water, could be anything, right? I'm just using the cards because it came to my mind now, that event. So yeah, we are playing with the spiritual world, and the best way to be safe is card deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
My pleasure. So I think I stopped here. Similar types of these illusions can only be a result of imperfect observation. Whoever has seriously studied the nature of spirits through the means offered by the practical spiritism will understand how naive they are. I read that already, right? So we have to move to the 109. 109. As we have seen, the perispirit is the principle for all manifestations. Kardec speaks about perispirit in several places, not in depth, but he speaks about perispirits. It is one of the things that I strongly recommend spiritists and mainly the mediums to study, because all manifestations, all phenomena are through the perispirit. All right? Understanding it has given us a key to numerous phenomena. It has led to a large advance in spiritist science and has enabled it to enter upon a new path by removing any relic of the miraculous from it. Thanks to the spirits themselves, we must always point out that was they who taught us the way. And by the way, it's still the same today. What we know coming from the spirits, what we do coming from the spirits. I am not a super duper medium. I'm not a super duper writer. No. Spiritism comes first from the spiritual world, from the spirit. We do not deserve any credit ourselves. We are just simple tools. A conscious medium understands that. He or she is only an intermediate, a go-between. Is not a star, a movie star, all right? We have found in the perispirit an explanation for spirits' action upon matter. the moving about of inert objects, noises, and apparitions. In the perispirit, we will find an explanation for many other phenomena, yet to be determined, to be examined before proceedings to a study of the communications per se. In the perispirit, we'll find an explanation. I will highlight that. Yet needs to be examined. Until today, study is also part of our day-to-day lives if we are serious about it. If I'm not serious about it, I just there for the sake of being there or just waiting someone to do for me. Once again, it's down to the person, but it is recommended to do so. We will understand these communications much better the more completely we understand these fundamental causes. We have to study. And even when we study, we realize we know nothing. We know nothing. The information we have today from the spiritual world is a mikra. It's very, very small. And then we wonder about how it is on evolved world where everything is done by thought. We don't even know what is here next door. We know very little. Our conceptions, our preconceptions limit our vision to an extent that I prefer to believe when I become a spirit, I'm like the Casper, the ghost, the little kid that is in cartoons everywhere. A lot of people think like that. So we need to open up our minds. We need to make more questions. We need to study more. If you guys are reading a book or studying a book, I'll go even further. If you are reading a sentence and you don't have any question for that sentence, read again. Read again and read again. Because that's the way we learn. We don't accept anything as granted. We need to make questions. And eventually, we'll find the answers. But if we make the right questions, we'll be pushed to find the right answers. If we understand this principle, it will be easier for us to apply it to the various phenomena that may present themselves for observation. However, far be it from us to regard the theory that we are presenting as absolute and being the last word in the issue. This is really, really important. Kardec never said, the spirits never said that what they have said at the time was cast in stone and that was it. They did the opposite. They gave the information we could absorb at the time. They gave the information that was available, perhaps, in the spiritual world at the time. And they mentioned in many places that they were not giving the last word. What does it mean? That we need to study, that we need to do research. If we want to continue to get more information from the spiritual world, there is only one way to do it. Having mediumship meetings, having serious research. Otherwise, how are we going to get this information from? Right? But once again, what they were presenting here is not absolute and was not the last word. So eventually, will be presented new information, and it's up to us to open our eyes and our ears and to evaluate the information that's coming. But new information will come, maybe not now, maybe in 50 years, maybe in 100 years, maybe in 10 generations, but will come. And we should not forget that we have the obligation to evaluate, but we cannot discharge everything without first having a thorough evaluation, because something new will be shocking. Like any new discovery is shocking. Likewise, when André Luiz brought through Chico Xavier Astral City in Nosso, there was a shocking. Today, we are more kind of complacent with that information. But at the time, many of our colleagues were not. It will undoubtedly be completed or corrected later through new studies. Oh dear. I thought I could not miss that either. So he was very specific. Will be completed. That's very good, right? So let's say that we are all on the same page here and we accepted that the information given will be completed. But then there's something else even more important. Look how humble was Kardec, or corrected. The information about perispirit will be completed or corrected. So we need to keep that in our minds when we study and whenever new information may come. But no matter how incomplete or imperfect it may be at present, it can always help if we understand the possibility of the phenomena resulting from causes that have nothing supernatural about them. Right? If it is a theory, we nevertheless cannot deny the merit of its reasonableness and probability, and that is worth as much as all the explanations that our detractors have attempted to use in order to prove that everything involved spirit phenomena is no more than illusion, phantasmagoria, and deception. Anyone has any questions, any thoughts, any complaint before we move on? Sandra.
Okay, so I can see here, will be completed, fine, but then or corrected.
Mhm.
I'm quite worried about this. Maybe it's a translation issue, because then after that you say, no matter how incomplete, fine, and imperfect. Imperfect for me sounds okay, but corrected?
Okay, so now we have the opportunity to go to our Google French translator and ask our friend Charles. Charles, which is the word that is there?
Wait a moment. Where do you see the word corrected?
Is almost on the end.
Completed or corrected. Okay. Rectifier.
Rectifier, c'est rectify.
Rectified. So it's corrected is not so bad.
No. But it's normal, Sandra. Even in science today, if we compare what we know today about, let's say the Hubble was one of the first things that the NASA sent. It's still active, but can see only until a certain point. It brought a lot of information. But now we have the Webber, the James Webb satellite that proves way more in depth than the previous one. It's proving things that science is now even having problems because, oh dear, what are you going to do now? It's bringing information that is not contradicting, but correcting misunderstanding we had. So this is normal. This is very normal. On the Spiritism, because we are a science, he has to be seen as normal. Right? Let's go back to my Casper ghost, the friendly ghost. Perhaps 100 years ago, we thought when we died, we would be like that. But today, we are happy to conceive that we are not like Casper, but we have hair. I'll have clothes. I'll have different things. Was wrong before? No. Incomplete, maybe. Incomplete, maybe. But if we had the picture that we were like skeletons on the spiritual world, then yes, the information was wrong and had to be corrected. The perispirit may have a skeleton, but was not only skeletons. So there's a fine line between that, but it does not shock me at all. All right. Any other comments, any questions here, guys? You are very quiet today.
Gil, it's Christine.
Ah, Christine, I was missing you so much. I love your questions. Tell me. Christine, you are on mute.
It keeps on doing that. Sorry. Go back up past till it's
It's doing again. We cannot hear you.
where a minute ago. If you go back up,
Yeah, you're back.
yeah. Can you go up the page back up to where we were a second ago?
Here?
Yeah, yeah. Where it says corrected later, what it means to me is that when we know information, we update our, and that's what it seems to be saying there. Completed or corrected later on through.
We lost you. Christine, we are not able to hear you right now.
Yeah, I think you're having connection issues. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry, it was where it says completed or corrected later on through new studies. It's really about saying once we have more information, update our knowledge. New studies. Can you understand that?
Yeah. So it's like let's thinking about my grandmother when she was in the school. She had science lessons. She had the latest information at the time. My son now has information I don't even understand anymore. So when the information become available and we have the merit and the possibility to receive, we will receive. I think we are on those lines. And knowing that we know just a micra of the universe, we have a lot of things to learn. And even more important, in my opinion, we need to be prepared for what is new and what is different. I'm not saying to accept everything. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we have to be conscious enough to accept there are things we do not know, we misunderstood because of our prejudices sometimes, because of what the human being are. The human being thinks they know everything. And eventually, we'll be able to face different situations that comes to our enlightenment. Daniel, you want to ask something, you said?
No, I just was not hearing, and I'll just ask to Christine to repeat the question. No,
right.
It's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what time is it? We have 15 minutes. So I will start the hallucination theory. That one is very nice. Those who do not accept the existence of the incorporeal or invisible world think they can explain everything away with the word hallucination. The definition of this word is well known. It means the error, the illusion of those who believe they experience certain perceptions when in fact they do not. It comes from the Latin hallucinare, to hear from ad lucem. I hope I have said that right. But we know that scholars still have not explained the physiological cause. Let's read the next sentence, and then on the end we speak about it. Since it seems that optics and physiology no longer hold any secrets from these learned individuals, why haven't they been able to explain the nature and origin of the images they are shown to the spirit under certain circumstances? They want to explain everything using the laws of matter, and should therefore be able to provide a theory of hallucination based upon such laws. Good or bad, it would be at least be an explanation. Sometimes when someone asks me something, I like to, before give an answer, reply with a question. Sometimes we receive questions and we know that behind that question, sometimes the person has a different objective. And when we do reply with another question, sometimes the person needs to think about the question itself. So, if I see a spirit, this is a hallucination. Could be. I may have a disease. I may have a neural problem. Could be. So what we need to do? We need to evaluate the frequency, how this is happening, what the person is seeing, what are the consequences. That's the safest thing to do to start with. But let's think now about Spiritism in Brazil. I think the last census we had 3 million people or something like that that declare themselves as Spiritists. We have a problem there. If, let's say, 30% of these 3 million people are ostensive mediums, we have a serious health problem there, because everything's an hallucination there. So every medium that participates in a mediumship meeting is facing a problem, a medical problem, because an hallucination is a product of what? A disease, a limitation of the brain. So if it is not a disease, because after that meeting, the person can carry very complicated tasks, engineering, medical, you name it. Can you please explain to me what it is? Well, if it's not an hallucination, must be something else. What is this something else? A lot of people that we know thinks that we are from cuckoo land, because they don't believe in spirits, they don't believe in life after death. And sometimes they come after us even joking, because they think we are a bit crazy. But if we turn that and make questions to them, how can you explain that then? Because if they know you're not crazy, right? Or at least I hope you're not. I hope I'm not. So they will have to make their own analysis. Can I move on? Yep. What time is it? The cause of dreams has never been explained by science. It attributes then to an effect of imagination, but it does not tell us what this imagination or how it produces the images that are so clear or distinct, which at the times appear to us. Thus, they explain the unknown thing with another that is even less known. Everything remains the same. They say that dreams should be regarded as memory of our walking state's concerns. However, even if we're talking about dreams here, Liz. However, if we were to accept this solution, it would actually resolve nothing. We would still need to know what this magic mirror is that retains the impression of such concerns. Above all, how can they explain the visions of real things that we have never seen before or thought of in the walking state? Only Spiritism can provide us with the key to those strange phenomena that pass unnoticed simply because they are so common, as they are all the wonders of nature that we so undervalue. When he mentioned here that sometimes you try to explain something with nothing, we can see that quite often. Even in science, two scientists may not agree about the same phenomena. They may not see the results they see in front of themselves. So I don't expect the spiritual world to be different, because if I don't believe in life after death, I don't believe in spirit, anything you say is nonsense to me. So I will try to justify with what I know. Oh, this is just a chemical reaction or something else, you know? Hi, Liz.
Hi there. As we know, especially in the mental health industry, many people, innocent people, get labeled with, you know, hallucinatory problems, hearing voices and everything, and they never receive the correct treatment because they are unable to analyze its exact cause. So all these poor people are put into mental homes, fed drugs and everything, instead of, you know, the actual cause of the obsession or whatever, being labeled schizophrenic, when in fact they're just experiencing normal phenomena in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Very sad.
We may face scenarios where the person is really in need of medical treatment. They may have schizophrenia or the pathogenies. They do need that kind of attention. We do have scenarios where the person does have that condition, and in parallel, also have the spiritual effect, making things more complicated. But we also have the scenario where the person does not have any pathogenic situation, any medical problem, it's just mediumship. And if you go to a place where no one's understand mediumship, they'll be giving drugs. They will be sometimes incarcerated in a very nice medical facility. And there's no treatment for mediumship. So this will not make things better. The reality will make things worse. I
This
know.
happened to my sister and to my son. They were both treated like that until I was able to find out more. But by then it was too late. So sad. Yeah.
Mhm. If the person has mediumship and being medicated, there's a time frame we can act upon. Because after 10 years of medication, let's say I'm using 10 years just as a number, things cannot be reversed. And it is what it is. It is what it is. sometimes, even when the person locates the right place to have the right information about what is it really is, the family don't want to be bothered, don't believe, don't want to be bothered, don't want to spend time, and they opt to give drugs anyway. And through my past experiences, we could see teenagers being given drugs, and a couple of years later, when we saw them, was not a nice picture. Was not a nice picture, because they become alienated. They become under effects of the drugs prescribed, and the only way to contain the mediumship is to give some prescriptions to give the person the will to remain in bed all day or something else. So it is what it is. But as a spiritist, we do have a duty to at least to share the little we know to the people, to the families. And if they decide not to, we did what we could do. I had examples, I lived examples in the past where teenagers came to us, we identified, we said what could be done. The option was not taken by the family. A few years later, they came back. We could see the reactions, we could see, and we still had the opportunity to help. But the family, again, they were looking for the magical wand, and there's no such a thing with the spiritism. There's no magical wand. A couple of years later, they came back, and we were sad to see that young man the way he was, because he was really, now he had a real problem. And what can we do? It is what it is, right?
I'd like to give another example concerning my sister. Yeah, she was diagnosed as schizophrenic. She was hearing voices, some of them genuine. She was put on medication from the age of 18 when in Paris she started hearing voices and people thinking people were all against her. So these are typical symptoms. But what people don't realize is for psychotic events, the medication that people are put on cannot always hold. Medication, there is no medication out there that actually can last someone's lifetime, or even 1 year or 2 years. And even when you change that medication, there are times when it is weaker than stronger, looking after, you know, the mental state of that person. So my daughter, my sister came to visit me in Cyprus, and she stayed in my 3rd floor flat, and she suddenly had a psychotic episode because the medicine wasn't holding, and she tried to jump over my balcony. I caught her. Something came into my head as I was sitting at the coffee table. I ran to the balcony because I could hear my window boxes breaking, and I just caught her from going over the balcony. So she was not able to be helped without this medication. However, what caused her to go over the balcony and many other psychotic episodes that she's had in her life is she hears the spirits telling her, because you can always tell when it's something outside of herself, because she says they. She'll always say, they tell me, yeah? Mm-hmm. Rather than, you know, it shows it's something external. So they were telling her every time that if she doesn't kill herself or jump over the balcony, they will kill her daughter. And so she felt she had no option. Or if she doesn't perform charity or help people or go begging or something, they will harm her daughter. So she has this fixation of these spirits saying these things. And those are genuine. Yep. It's so sad.
Yeah, that is the mixed case when you have the more than one factor contributing to that end. And just to finalize, we have 1 minute, and we have several bodies, right? We have the perispirits, we have the double, we have an assembly of bodies that makes the the whole. And when you do have drugs, especially heavy drugs, you start having cracks in what I call shield. That's the double. That's an energetic field around our bodies. And those cracks allow a more heavy participation from those that don't want us well, right? So every case is a case. What we have to do, we have to analyze every case, give the information that we have available through our spiritism sessions, through our books, through everything, and try to help. But sometimes, even when we try to help, the help does not arrive in time or does not arrive as the person wants. Because sometimes, as I said here today, people are looking for the magical wand, and such a thing does not exist. It's a complex situation. So myself in particular, when we are facing situations where we do not know exactly what is really the root cause of the problem, when we were part of that team doing that kind of assistance, we always revert to our benefactors asking, which is the best line of action to help this person? And a serious institution with serious benefactors, they will come in our assistance, giving us the information of what is the best to do. Because we know nothing. We are just the go-between, right? So that's it for today. And as I can see Pablo very happy to make a final prayer. Can you do a quick one for us, Pablo?
Yes. Beloved Master Jesus, we thank you for one more opportunity on reflecting, debating about the effect of mediumship in everyone's lives, and to light up this great fire in our minds, to keep us eager to always look for more knowledge, and to be open to the new. May we have a blessed day, a blessed weekend. So be it.
So I wish you all a very good weekend and looking forward to see you again in a week's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for today.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.